Today, but we're going to start with only I think one or two missing, which will be all right. If the Sergeant at Arms can secure the doors, members, please take your seats. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. President.
All right, this morning we are pleased to welcome Rabbi Deborah Welcher from the Chizuk Amuno Congregation and School in Baltimore, Maryland, guest of the distinguished senator from District 11. Members, please rise for the invocation.
My name is Rabbi Deborah Wexler. I'm rabbi at the historic Chizuk Amuno Congregation, founded 150 years ago this April 1st, the very first conservative congregation in Maryland. We offer this prayer this morning as we begin our work. Dear God, we come before you from our common faiths of love and light to give thanks for this new day and its new opportunities. We are grateful to you to having been entrusted with the great responsibility of caring for one another and doing your work here on earth. We give thanks for the blessing of this nation and this state. As we labor today in service of our state, we ask that you grant us wisdom and discernment. We ask that you grant us patience and kindness. We ask that you grant us openness and understanding. We ask that you help us set aside our personal concerns as we work on behalf of the greater good. We also give thanks and ask your blessings upon those who serve our sovereign state of Maryland. Governor Larry Hogan and his cabinet and staff, Senate President Bill Ferguson and Pro Tem Melanie Griffith, the leaders of each party, Senators Nancy King and Brian Simonaire, and upon each individual who serves as a Maryland State Senator today. Ribon Kol HaMa'asim, God of stories, help us keep in mind the personal narratives of each one of the more than 6 million residents of the great state of Maryland. Their lives tell the story of our state and provide a guide for serving them faithfully. In these difficult days of loss and fear, we are mindful of the privilege of serving you, God, and serving others. Bless the work of our hands, the work of our minds, and the work of our hearts. Adonai oz la'amo yiten, Adonai yivarech et amav b'shalom. May God grant strength to God's people, and may God bless all peoples with peace, and together we say, Amen.
Chair recognizes the senator from District 11.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I'm thrilled to welcome one of my rabbis this morning at Chizuk Amuno Congregation. And as Rabbi Wexler stated, it is a historic 150th anniversary of the synagogue, and as well the rabbi's 21 years of being the first woman rabbi of this congregation. So I would ask that her remarks be journalized, please.
We thank you, Senator, for inviting the rabbi to join us virtually this morning, and without objection, we will journalize the rabbi's invocation for us to kick off our day. Has everyone recorded their presence? It appears so. Clerk will take the call. With 46 members in the chamber, the Senate of Maryland is now in session. All right, we got a busy day today. So we cut a little bit short last night on the second readers. Things were, we had a long night. So we're going to, again, do as much as we can today. We'll just have one session today. We are going to do double sessions Wednesday, Thursday. And so we're going to do the best we can. But this afternoon, hopefully committees can take up some of the last minute stuff that has to get to the floor. And then we will probably spend the majority of the bulk of our end of week here in this wonderful Senate chamber together, working through a number of last minute issues. So any other announcements today before we jump into the work of the people? It appears not. All right, without objection, so be considered the reading of the journal from the prior legislative day. First order of business, we have message from the House. These are Senate bills passed. Clerk will read the bills.
Senate Bill 140, Senator Peters, Vehicle Laws, Commercial Motor Carriers, Safety Inspection, Performance, and Insurance Information, James Corrins Law. Senate Bill 2...
Majority Leader moves so be considered the reading of the bills. We have some first reading House bills. This is calendar 33. Clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 310, Delegate Learman, Maryland Arts Capital Grant Program, Rules.
All right, that we'll refer the bill to the Rules Committee. How about this? Why don't we've got almost everyone, well, we don't have the Chair of Finance. Yeah, all right. Third readers? Yeah, let's do this. Let's start with second readers. We're waiting on some test results, so let's do a second reader, and then we'll get these third readers once we have everybody in the chamber here. We won't start with finance. Let's do Education, Health, Environmental Affairs. If there's no objection, we'll do calendar 41. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 98, Delegate Washington, Maryland Higher Education Outreach and College Access Pilot Program Alterations. Maryland College Access Act, favorable.
All right, House Bill 98. Chair recognizes the Chair of the Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 98 makes the Maryland Higher Education Outreach Program permanent by repealing the termination date and making some other conforming changes. It must continue to submit an annual report. It uses nonprofit programs across the state to support young people, particularly those in the high poverty areas, to prepare for and eventually achieve college attendance. These students are among the lowest rate of utilizing that. There is federal grant money and state money and the rolling scholarship to help these people if they choose to go to college. This tries to increase those numbers. Mr. President, move adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor Leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. On the report, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 98 is hereby ordered passed for third reader. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1268, Delegate Henson, Legal Education Success Collaborative established, favorable with 2 amendments.
Chair recognizes the Senator from Baltimore City as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 1268, Legal Education Success Collaborative, is identical as the bill SB 526 that was passed unanimously by the Senate. I move for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report.
Floor Leader moves for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now on the favorable committee report is amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 1268 is hereby ordered passed to third reader. All right, let's do judicial proceedings. We'll start with 36, calendar 36. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 260, Delegate W. Fisher, Courts, Jury Service Disqualification, favorable with 2 amendments.
We've got House Bill 260. Chair recognizes the Senator from Baltimore City as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. The bill is amended is identical to its cross-file, which we've passed the Senate several weeks ago. There are 2 committee amendments. Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 specifies that an individual is disqualified from jury service if the individual has been convicted of a crime punishable by imprisonment exceeding 1 year and is currently serving the sentence imposed for the conviction, including any term of probation. It adds current law back into the bill, specifying that an individual is disqualified from jury service if the individual has a charge pending for a crime punishable by imprisonment exceeding 1 year, and it deletes an obsolete provision of the law. I'd move the amendments and the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The Two committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the favorable committee report as amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 260 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Senators, please, I apologize. It's wonderful being here in the daytime, but with the light above, the plexiglass is like, it is a like a mirror maze. This is very challenging to see, folks. So if I just make sure to hit your buttons if you can think of it. If somebody's the floor leader, it is just impossible to see. All right, clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 562, Montgomery County Delegation, Montgomery County Speed Limits Establishment, Montgomery County 221, favorable with two amendments.
Chair recognizes the chair of the committee as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 562 authorizes Montgomery County and its municipalities to drop the speed limit down to 15 miles per hour after conducting a traffic study. As amended, it also prohibits the use of a speed camera without further notification and study. There are two amendments. One is technical, and number two adds municipalities in Montgomery County to the bill's authorization and adds the prohibition on implementing new speed cameras on portions of highways for which the speed limit has been decreased under the bill. Mr. President, I move adoption of the favorable committee reports and the two committee amendments.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the two committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The two committee amendments are adopted. Question now on the favorable committee report as amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 562 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 931, Delegate Arcan, Child Care Providers, Notice of Allegations of Child Abuse or Neglect, Aiden's Law, favorable with two amendments.
Chair recognizes Senator from Frederick County as the floor leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. The bill as amended requires the designee of the state superintendent of schools, upon receipt of required notification regarding suspected child abuse within a child care facility, to ensure that specified notice to parents and guardians has been provided. Family child care providers and child care centers must provide notice to parents or guardians of all children who are under the care of the provider center, or report an incident of suspected child abuse or neglect that is alleged to have occurred on the premises. The bill establishes the additional requirements for the notice and establishes related civil penalties. Additionally, the bill establishes that an individual who intentionally prevents or interferes with the making of a report of suspected abuse of a child by a mandatory reporter may be prosecuted at any time for said violation. The bill takes effect July 1st. First Amendment is technical. The Second Amendment establishes the portion I just talked about, that the failure or the preventing the report, or intentionally preventing or interfering with the report by a mandatory reporter, changes the statute of limitations on that. And the bill passed unanimously. I'd move both amendments in the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the two committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The two committee amendments are adopted. Question now on the favorable committee report is amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 931 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 1061, Charles County Delegation, Southern Maryland, dwelling registration and inspection fees and fines, favorable with one amendment.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 27th District as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President, colleagues. This is a local bill which passed unanimously, and as amended, the bill authorizes the county commissioners of a code home rule county in Southern Maryland, that is Charles County, to one, require a property owner of a dwelling or multifamily dwelling to register the dwelling with the county in order to offer units for lease. Two, charge a fee on a property owner for registering a dwelling unit or a multifamily dwelling within the county. Three, conduct inspections of a dwelling unit or a multifamily dwelling that is registered with the county to enforce minimum property maintenance standards. And four, impose a fine on a property owner as specified. The bill also authorizes the county to adopt regulations relating to the registration of the dwellings. There's one amendment, which is technical. Move the adoption of the favorable committee amendment and the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the one committee amendment and the favorable committee report. Question on the amendment. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The one committee amendment is adopted. Question now on the favorable committee report as amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 1061 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. I don't know what JPR has been drinking, but that's a second calendar in a row. No questions on any bill on the calendar. So let's clear out JPR. We've got one bill left on calendar 38. Clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 76, Delegate Love, Water Pollution Control, Intervention in Civil Actions, Rights and Authority, favorable.
Chair recognizes the Senator from Baltimore City as the floor leader.
The bill is identical to the bill that we just passed, Senate Bill 334. There are no committee amendments. I'd move the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the favorable committee report. On the report, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 76 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. All right, we have everyone here. Let's do we've got some concurrences. Let's do a quorum call before our third reading and concurrences.
Mr. President,
has everyone recorded their presence? Okay. If so, the clerk will take the call. With 46 members in the chamber and a quorum being present, the Senate of Maryland remains in session. Let's see, we've got a concurrence from Education, Health, Environmental Affairs, number 15. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 500, Senator Lamb, Psychology, Interjurisdictional Compact, EHE.
Chair recognizes the chair of the committee on the House amendments.
Yeah, Mr. President, the committee looked at the amendments. We think they're reasonable, and we move to concur.
All right, the committee moves to concur on the House amendments. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The House amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 500 is again before the Senate on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 500, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. All right, we've got another concurrence here. A couple coming out of JPR. This is calendar 16. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 265, Senator Wallstreicher, Estates and Trusts, Maryland Revised Uniform Anatomical Gift Act Revisions, JPR.
Chair recognizes the Vice Chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. As passed by the Senate, this bill expands the scope of our organ donation statute. The House amendments clarify the application of the bill and require the MVA to adopt certain regulations. Mr. President, the motion is for JPR to concur.
All right, the committee moves that the Senate accept the House amendments. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The Senate concurs with the House amendments. Senate Bill 265 is again before the Senate on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 265, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 686, Senator Smith, Real Property, Condominiums, Homeowners Associations, and Cooperative Housing Corporations, Virtual Meetings, JPR.
Chair recognizes the Chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. As amended by the House, it just pushed up the effective date from October 1st to June 1st, 2021. The bills are otherwise identical. The committee voted to concur unanimously.
All right. The committee moves that the Senate accept the House amendments. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The Senate concurs with the House amendments. Senate Bill 686 is again before the Senate on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 686, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. All right, let's go to our third readers. We've got House bills. This is going. Oh no, we have some Senate bills here on third reading. This is calendar 61. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 334, Senator Carter, Water Pollution Control, Intervention in Civil Actions, Rights and Authority.
Senate Bill 334 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 38 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 334, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 460, Senator Feldman, Economic Development, Advanced Clean Energy and Clean Energy Innovation Investments and Initiatives.
Senate Bill 460 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 460, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 577, Senator McCray, Economic Development, Makerspace Initiative Pilot Program.
Senate Bill 577, third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call.
Mr. President.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Could I change my vote on 334 from green to red, please?
Oh, yes, Senator, give 1 sec. So Senate Bill 577, having received 47 votes in the affirmative, is declared passed. Senator from District 35 wishes on which vote, Senator?
334 at the beginning of this calendar from green to red.
334 from green to red. Are there any objections to the Senator's motion? Without objection, so ordered. All right. Now we're on to House bills. We are on calendar number 20. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 860, Delegate Gilchrist, State Planning, Preservation of Agricultural Land, Goal.
House Bill 860 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 860, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 878, Delegate Chang, Bay Restoration Fund, authorized uses and county authority to incur indebtedness.
House Bill 878 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 878, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 881, Delegate Valentino Smith, Mental Health Facilities, Sexual Abuse and Harassment, Reporting and Prevention.
House Bill 881 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 881, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 891, Delegate D.M. Davis, Higher Education, Hunger-Free Campus Grant Program, established.
House Bill 891 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? Yes, Chair recognizes the Chair of the Committee.
Yes, I'd just like to special order this bill to the appropriate time next session.
Tomorrow?
Tomorrow's fine with me.
Senator moves to special order the bill. Any objections to Senator's order? Without objection, so ordered. The bill will be special ordered at the appropriate time tomorrow. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 904, Delegate Bridges, State Personnel, Collective Bargaining, Exclusive Representative Access to New Employees.
House Bill 904 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 32 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 904, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 905, Delegate Bridges, Education, Workforce Development, Sequence Scholarships, Eligibility.
House Bill 905 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 905, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1048, Delegate Wilkins, Education Law, Permanent Absentee Ballot List.
House Bill 1048 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 32 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1048, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1136, Delegate Chisholm, Anne Arundel County Alcoholic Beverages Licenses, Annual Fees.
House Bill 1136 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1136, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1317, Delegate Smith, Barbers, Employment of Apprenticeship Barbers, Alterations.
House Bill 1317 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1317, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. All right, we've got a consent calendar. This is calendar 21, consent number 9. Clerk will read the calendar.
Senate third reading calendar number 21, consent number 9.
All right, looks like this is out of judicial proceedings. Senators, these bills are on third reading for final passage. We've got a pretty long list here, so senators, take a look at the list. Double check if there are any bills that senators wish to separate and vote separately. If not, for final passage, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House bills on consent number 9, having received a constitutional majority, are declared passed. All right, we've got another consent calendar. These are House bills. Looks like JPR. The clerk will read the calendar.
Senate third reading calendar number 22, consent number 10.
2210. All right, senators, we got a fairly long list, about 10 bills. Take a quick look. Any bills that senators wish to separate out for one reason or another? If not, on third reading for final passage, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House bills on calendar 2210, having received a constitutional majority, are declared passed. Clerk will read the next consent calendar.
Senate third reading calendar number 23, consent number 11.
All right, we got another consent, 4 bills here. Any bills that senators wish to separate out? Yes, Chair recognizes the minority leader.
Thank you. If you could just separate House Bill 128, please.
128 separately. All right, without objection, so ordered. Any other separations? Okay, so let's take up the consent calendar, less bill, House, not inclusive of 128. So we'll take up the remainder. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House bills on consent calendar 2311, having received a constitutional majority, are declared passed. Clerk will read the outstanding bill.
House Bill 128, Delegate Stewart, Criminal Law, Hate Crimes, Protected Groups, and Penalties.
House Bill 128 is on third reading for final passage. Chair recognizes the minority leader.
Thank you. I have an amendment.
Senator has an amendment. If the senator could give us a number.
It's HB 0128/373820/1.
All right, one moment, Senator. Senator may explain the amendment.
Thank you. We've seen cases across the United States of hate crimes dealing with just based on your political affiliation, some very serious ones. Other states have given their citizens protection with this type of amendment. There's clearly a need for this. No hate crime is appropriate. We see the need, and I was asked that we would adopt this for adding political affiliation. Thank you.
Senator moves the amendment. Floor leader on the bill. Chair recognizes Senator from District 11.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would urge the body to resist this amendment. This bill is about hate crimes, and we've made a determination that hate crimes are generally for protection of traits that are immutable. And I would argue that identity and political affiliation do not fall in that category, so I would urge us to resist this amendment. Thank you.
All right. On the amendment, any further discussion? Chair, are there any senators who have not yet spoken that wish to speak? If not, Chair recognizes the maker of the amendment.
Yes, if the floor leader would yield.
Will the floor leader yield for a question?
Certainly.
Senator may proceed.
So I hear your argument against immutable. What is the definition of immutable?
Things that we cannot change about ourselves, something that is a trait or a condition of who we are or how we were born.
Okay. And under current law, do we not protect religious beliefs under this hate crime?
We do.
Is that immutable?
That is changeable. That someone can change their religion, yes.
Okay. Do we have homelessness under this current law, under hate crimes?
I believe we do in Maryland, yes.
Is that immutable?
Someone can become not homeless, I suppose, yes.
Okay, so the argument for this, to reject this amendment, is because it's immutable, or it's not, and yet this law currently has those type of characteristics. I think what we really need to look at, are there cases of hate crime based on political affiliation? And sadly, over this last election, on both sides, we saw it streamed across our TVs, just vicious crimes, simply based on political affiliation. That is completely wrong. We need to protect our citizens with that. Other states have done this. The argument presented to reject this is completely false. We have religious beliefs, which is not immutable. And I just have a couple examples dealing with homelessness. And I have probably about 10 stories here. I'm not going to take your time to read them. But they change. But we protect them. Whether they're homeless and they can change to be not homeless, that's not the determination of whether we should protect them. I also have cases here, why I left Islam to follow Jesus. They changed their religion. And we didn't say we're not going to protect religious beliefs because they could change. We put in protections because we think it's wrong that people should attack people hatefully because of their religious beliefs. I'm a white Western woman. I converted from Christianity to Islam. And I could go over story after story after story. So the reason to reject this amendment is not valid. We already have it in current law. We need to protect our citizens. We've seen extreme hate in this area. Other states are doing this. And it's a valid amendment, and I ask for their protection. Thank you.
Thank you,
and a roll call vote.
Thank you, Senator. Yes, Chair recognizes the Chair of the committee on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just rise in opposition to the amendment while I respect the Senator's sentiment behind it. When you look at the other characteristics that we've chosen to protect under this portion of the law, there's a long history in our nation of discrimination and vicious acts, the last of which was added, I think, was the homelessness provision, and we had several incidents, high-profile incidents of targeting of individuals that were homeless through acts of violence and other discrimination. So I would ask the body to resist this. Obviously, we have protections under the Constitution, First Amendment being the supreme layer of protection for political affiliation and right of association, which is sufficient to protect folks now because of their political affiliation. So love to have that conversation in a different bill, different vehicle, respect the sentiment behind it. Obviously, we're in a very politically charged environment now, but this is not the vehicle, this is not the bill for this.
All right. On the amendment, Chair recognizes the minority whip.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And I rise, actually, this amendment has a lot of merit to it in that political violence and extremism really is on the rise in our country. And I brought in a bill earlier this session into actually the Minority Leader's committee, and which talked about the destruction of signs and property. Unfortunately, we haven't seen to move that bill, but it is a major problem. I can tell you, just my friends, neighbors driving around and seeing it, not only just the spray painting and destruction of signs, but people going onto their property, destroying their property. I've had family members that I actually had to take one down to the commissioner because they had a bumper sticker for somebody in the car and they were stalked and harassed. I mean, the level of hatred and violence has really gotten out of control. Just in our county, not only destruction of signage, but people I know personally that have had things on their house lit on fire, that have had their property damaged, had to go get peace orders, that had to, like I said, family members I had to help that actually just for having a bumper sticker had to get peace orders. So actually, I think this is a major problem in that people are now taking politics and the hate and the division that you see online and social media, that we saw at the Capitol earlier. All those things you're seeing are playing out in our streets constantly every election season. So it's become a new occurring thing, and I think this is actually a very good amendment. There's a lot of merit to it. So I'll be voting green.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes the floor leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I echo the remarks of the chairman that talked about the protected classes. And I also want to remind this body that we've considered this amendment before and rejected it just a few weeks ago. So I appreciate also the concern, and I share the concern about violence directed at someone for their political affiliation, but I really think this is the wrong vehicle, and I would urge my colleagues to reject this amendment. Thank you.
All right, on the amendment, any further senators not yet spoken wish to speak? If not, Chair recognizes the maker of the amendment.
Thank you. And actually, I did offer this on the Senate bill, and the floor leader told me that all the classes were immutable, and I accepted that and didn't provide any arguments. After it was rejected and we got off the floor, I went back and actually looked at the statute and realized that the argument was not correct, and that is why I'm bringing it back out here. We rejected it on false premise that this does not, like others, like religious beliefs and homeless, and there's possibly other ones. So it's completely different. We have new facts, and hate is hate. And whether we're going to say for this one group, it's okay for you to hate on them, and you can do it and no problem. But in these special cases, we're not going to let you hate. We need consistency, and we need to protect those. On the right, the left, this is not a political statement. This is saying we have seen gross actions of hate oozing out of people, and even on young people. And it's really disturbing. And if we're serious about hate crimes, this is a perfect example where you can stand up and say hate is wrong. And I said, we're not the only state that have done this. There's other states that have enacted this. This is a sensible amendment and provides protection for our citizens of Maryland. And I'd ask for a green vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes the senator from the 43rd District.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would the floor leader yield for a question?
Of course.
Senator may proceed.
Thank you. The maker of the amendment referred to some protections based on political affiliations, but aren't those few states that have done it, they've done it based on employer discrimination in the job, that it didn't address hate crime. Is that correct?
I believe so.
Additionally, wouldn't you say, and I understand that the argument about immutable characteristics, but we've sort of evolved to that, and sort of it's the perception of being able to actually see that someone is homeless, being able to see potentially that their religious affiliation based on their garb and their clothing. So it's not simply just the immutable characteristic, it's that others, these external markers where one may believe that someone belongs to a protected class and therefore act upon hate. It's not whether or not they actually are that. Would that be the argument, an additional argument that the body should consider?
Absolutely, and it's right, whether someone makes an assumption based on some of those outward characteristics, yes.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. All right, Chair recognizes the senator from the 34th District on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I've been listening to this debate. It's actually interesting when hearing the back and forth, and I appreciate the folks on both sides getting up. And what I take away from the debate as I'm sitting here trying to understand it is that, if you just go out and assault somebody because you want their wallet or because you're just having a bad day, you're, no particular goal in mind other than to maybe, be a jerk, that's bad. And certainly we have criminal laws to punish that. And it's bad for all of us that people do that. But what's even worse, and that's what I think the amendment gets at, what's even worse is when we use violence, intimidation, to shut up a class of people, to shut up anyone because of their beliefs, because of who they are, because of their culture, their race, their religion, their beliefs. I think anytime we do that, given what our country stands for, that anytime someone does that, it's not just an assault on Frank Jones, it's an assault on us. It's an assault on the American people and what we stand for. And so I think that's why it's appropriate that when people use violence, intimidation, to deprive people of the ability to simply express themselves in our society, it becomes more destructive of who we are as a people than just the normal run-of-the-mill crime. So I think if we look at it that way, the amendment makes complete sense. And so I'll be voting green on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. All right, on the amendment, any further discussion? If not,
President.
Sorry, yes, Senator recognizes the senator from 35th District on the amendment.
Thank you. We're fortunate here in the Maryland Senate. We have disagreements, but we were able, for the most part, to have those disagreements in an agreeable way. Unfortunately, as we look at the news and in recent years, politically, the polarization in this country is maybe at the greatest it's been maybe ever. And as a result of that, you see these instances of, violence just because of what someone believes politically, And that's really exacerbated by social media, where, any keyboard warrior can get on there and say whatever they want, and the tension gets higher and higher. Nobody's faultless with this. It happens, on both sides. So I think this is a really reasonable, smart amendment. I mean, this is an issue that we can take a stand on now and say, we're going in the wrong direction here. Let's make a clear stand that this is not going to be accepted. That if you have a certain view, and someone comes at you in that hateful way, that should fall into this category. So I just want to rise in support of the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. All right, any further discussion? Yes, Chair recognizes the senator from District 6 on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. I can personally say that at times, being in my party, I have the opportunity to meet other people out on polls, whatever party they were. And we had opportunity to talk and to dialogue and to speak of things that we had differences, but there were respect there. But there were other people, literally in my own party, that ran against me, that attacked me. And I think it probably happened the same thing in our neighboring party, just to say the Democratic Party, that I'm sure there are people that probably ran against you, that probably attacked you at times. And I think this covers this very well. I don't think anybody should be attacked ever. A hate crime is a hate crime. But when somebody attacks anyone, it is just wrong, whatever party you are. And I think we should really realize that something like this amendment, which I believe is a very friendly amendment, a common sense amendment, is something that I think is respectful to all of us. And it's not a party issue, it's a people issue. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes the senator from District 10.
Colleagues, sometimes when we're trying to do good, we're trying to make a bill better, we actually add something that is so significant that in fact it takes away the currency of the underlying purpose of the bill. We each have so many different beliefs that we hold truly that are political and civic beliefs, business beliefs, that if you were to add this amendment, there could be millions and millions of instances of what would fit under this, to the extent that the bill would have no further meaning. Just think about it. all of us within our political parties belong to subsets sometimes of the political parties. And maybe what our party is for at the national level is not what it's for at the state party. And think about the number of bills we consider every year, and all political bodies have to consider. People who take sides on those in a way of, this could go on ad infinitum till nothing would have meaning. So we don't want to get rid of the underlying currency of what the bill was initially about by adding in something that's so broad, where each of us has so many political beliefs, and that's everybody in the world, that nothing could come of what we've added on inadvertently while meaning good. And so I would suggest that we not subscribe to this amendment.
Thank you, Senator. All right, on the amendment, any further discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote? Chair, in explaining his vote, this is a very interesting issue. I think there's probably a number of law articles that could be written, but one of the things that came to mind is just the registration. You could be registered in one way, but hold a different set of political beliefs, and so defining the outcome. So for that reason, I'm voting no, but do think there's an interesting question here given the state of democracy. So, all right, with that, the clerk will take the call. With 31 votes in the negative, the senator's amendment fails. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none. House Bill, on third reading, just kidding. All right, on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call.
Explain my vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Senator. Chair recognizes Senator from District 34 has 2 minutes to explain his vote.
Yes, thank you. So, we're being true to what we were arguing over here, that there's a role for all of this. We just thought we could make it better. And I do want to just point out that two consent calendars ago, we approved by consent a bill that this body in the final week of last session was hotly debated, intensely debated right up to sine die, was then vetoed by the governor, was taken back and reworked, and came back, and here we just voted out of the consent calendar. So it's those kind of moments that make you appreciate being a member of this body. That we just had we did that 2 calendars ago, and now here we are on this calendar, and we fought intensely about an amendment that was rejected, but yet we turn around and vote for the bill on the principle of the bill itself. So I just appreciate the moment. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Any further senators wish to explain their votes? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 128, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. All right, clerk will read the next bill. Oh, yes. Are we on the... Yes, we'll take it to the next calendar, which is...
24.
I'm falling behind here. 24, right,
House
yes.
Bill 48, Delegate Bhandari, Criminal Procedure, Registered Sex Offenders, Entry onto School Property. This is an emergency bill.
All right, House Bill 48 is on third reading for final passage. Senators, this is an emergency bill. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 48, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 110, Delegate Corman, Electric Vehicle Recharging Equipment for Multifamily Units Act.
House Bill 110 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 110, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 118, Delegate Stein, Vehicle Laws, Injury or Death of Vulnerable Individual, Penalties.
House Bill 118 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 118, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 127, Delegate Boyce, Maryland Paint Stewardship.
House Bill 127 is on third reading for final passage. Chair recognizes the senator from District 5 on the bill.
Mr. President, I pressed my button. I believe there may be some action on this bill first, but if not, I'll go ahead and discuss the bill. I have a couple of concerns that I wanted to raise and talk through here.
Would the senator be interested in maybe yielding to the senator from District 9 first, and we'll see?
I'd be delighted to yield. Yes,
Wonderful.
sir.
All right. Chair recognizes the senator from District 9.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I have an amendment. Would now be the appropriate time?
Senator has an amendment. If the senator could read the number.
Yes, it's 204-837.
837-1.
1
moment, Senator. All right, Senator may explain the amendment.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. So the bill as written, it already prohibits paint stewardship assessments from exceeding the cost of implementing the paint stewardship program. And listening to the debate last week, we thought about this and we decided to add a clarifying amendment just to alleviate any concerns. So the amendment here clarifies that MDE may require the reduction of a proposed paint stewardship assessment proposed in the initial plan based on the financial evaluation of an independent auditor, which is the financial evaluation is already required in the bill. So we think this is just belts and suspenders and is a good addition to the bill, and I would urge the adoption of the favorable amendment.
All right. On the amendment, the senator, the committee moves the amendment. Is this a committee amendment? Just the senator. Senator's amendment moves the amendment. On the amendment, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The amendment is adopted.
Mr. President.
Yes, Senator. We'll strike that.
I don't
Yes,
see the amendment on our laptops. I haven't been able to read it.
204-837.
I'd like to be able to read it before I vote on it.
Senator, let's. It sounds like we're frozen. Hold on one moment. Let's give us. Thank you for pointing that out, Senator.
Can I just read the number again?
No, I think it's about the system. Give us just a moment. It's on the board, but it's just not on the amendment system? The whole thing's not?
The floor system is still on House Bill 110.
Really?
So we're 2 behind.
Huh. Well, that doesn't work.
Mr. President?
Yes, Chair recognizes the Vice Chair. Any introductions?
I might suggest that while we're waiting, that anyone watching from home would understand that this is similar to watching paint dry.
We thank you for that observation, Senator.
Mr. President?
Yes, Chair recognizes...
The lady from
Senator from Prince George's.
So, colleagues, when I moved ahead on my floor system. I clicked on the bill number HB 127, and the amendment does show up as a third reader amendment with the number 837 on the end. I have it on my system, but I had to manually scroll to the bill.
The Senator is teaching a master class in floor system here. Let's do this. Let's give it a second. Look, we got to make sure that folks can see what is on the floor. So this is a critical function, especially as we don't have our pages, who we dearly, dearly miss. Working?
Mr. President.
All right, OIS, the magic of OIS. Wonderful. Thank you, OIS team in the background that just kicked it into gear. We're all good? All right, the question is on the amendment. Senator has explained the amendment. It is now available. Any discussion on the amendment? Chair recognizes the senator from the 36th District.
Thank you, Mr. President. With the floor offer of the amendment, just yield for question.
Will the senator yield? Senator may proceed.
Thank you. I just want to make sure I understand. Who hires this independent financial officer auditor?
The Department of the Environment.
Okay, so it's not the people running the program, but MDE hires the auditor, and then all the information based on the finances of this program are returned back to MDE for their decision making.
That is correct. MDE hires the auditor.
Great. Thank you very much. Thanks, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. All right, on the amendment, any further discussion? If not, on the amendment, all in favor of the amendment say aye. All in favor of the amendment say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The amendment is adopted. All right, we're back again on third reading. Chair recognizes the senator from District 5.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do thank the floor leader for her amendment. I think it definitely is an improvement to the bill. I want to just kind of reset the stage quickly about what this bill is doing. This is a bill that I believe is about, how many pages is it? It's a 12-page bill that was not amended at all in the House, and up until now was not amended here. It is setting up an entire program for paint stewardship that is going to add a tax onto paint bought by consumers in Maryland. It's setting up an outside of government fund that is regulated by MDE, but it is going to be a nonprofit 501c, I think 6. That is going to be, this is new for Maryland. We don't do this. Things like the tire fund that are set up for tire recycling are administered by the state. Paint also is not like tires in the sense that paint doesn't have to be recycled generally. It can be thrown away. But some people like to recycle paint. Counties have recycling programs. This is an attempt, and I don't, it's not necessarily bad intentions, but it's an attempt to find another way to do paint recycling. But what the bill does is it allows for setting up, as I said, it doesn't just allow, it actually requires that every paint manufacturer enter into an agreement with this new entity, and it requires that the cost of administering this paint stewardship program are passed down to the retailers and the consumers. So I have some concerns about that, not the least of which is I'm not sure we want to be adding costs to anybody right now for something, again, a program that isn't absolutely necessary, might be a nice to have, but we already have ways for people to dispose of paint and to recycle paint. So I had a number of concerns about this bill, and I appreciate the floor leader. We've worked together in learning about the bill, understanding the bill, and talking about it. But I have an amendment that I'd like to offer on this bill that might address at least one big concern that I have. I don't think we should be creating a new paint tax or fee. And so there's a part of the bill, and it starts at page 9, at the bottom of page 9, and goes on to page 10. It's underneath, starting up a little higher, beginning on October 1st, 2022, or 6 months after the plan approval for this outside government entity, whichever is later. First, there's a producer retailer may not sell or offer a brand of architectural paint to any person in the state unless they are a member of this organization, this approved paint stewardship program. I'm not going to touch that part of the bill with my amendment. What I'm more concerned about, even though I think that's a little questionable too, but what I'm more concerned about is the next 2 points. On line 32, a producer shall add the paint stewardship assessment established under an approved paint stewardship program to the cost of all architectural paint sold to retailers and distributed in the state. And, number 3, on line 3 of page 10, each retailer or distributor shall, not may, shall add a paint stewardship assessment, boy, that's a fun term, to the purchase price of all architectural paint sold in the state at the retail level. So that means people going in to buy, get cans of paint, gallons of paint, 5 gallons of paint, are going to be paying an assessment, a tax built into the price of the paint. And the producers have to add it to their cost. The producer can't just write it off, and the retailer has to add that assessment. So what my amendment would do, and I'll go ahead and, Mr. President, I'll go ahead and read my amendment number.
Senator may proceed.
The amendment number is 473923/1.
1 moment.
Sure.
All right, amendments on the board. Can we confirm that it's on the floor system? Any thumbs up anywhere? Do we have it? Okay, looks like we're good.
Okay.
All right, Senator may explain the amendment.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. So what my amendment simply does is it's going to strike out from line 32 of page 9 to line 5 of page 10. It's going to strike out the shall part that says a producer shall add this assessment to the cost of all architectural paint sold. And then line 3 of page 10, it's going to strike out through line 5 that each retailer or distributor shall add this assessment to the purchase price. It's getting rid of the shall. It doesn't say you can't add it. It doesn't say that we can't have this program, but it just says you're not going to force you're not going to force distributors, you're not going to force retailers to pass this along to each other and to consumers. So this actually would say, at least it's not this, because right now the way this bill reads, just so everybody's clear, this bill is mandating retailers and distributors set up a paint tax. So this is a bill to create a paint tax right now. But it doesn't have to be. If we strike this out, it makes it optional to pass it along, not a mandate. I still don't know that I necessarily like this bill. I understand the industry wants it. Not surprised, because it's something they can create to find ways to, get more people into stores. There's a number of reasons why the industry wants this. Not all bad. Obviously, recycling paint's a good thing. But this is creating a paint tax. So my amendment, and I would move the amendment, Mr. President, would just be to get rid of the mandate that it be passed along to that a fee or a tax be a paint stewardship assessment. My amendment would get rid of the requirement that the producers have to add it when they sell it to retailers, and get rid of the requirement that a retailer has to add an assessment to pass it on to consumers. So I would move my amendment, Mr. President.
All right, Senator moves the amendment. Chair recognizes the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would urge the body to resist this amendment. The paint producers are still going to be required to plan and pay for the recycling disposal of leftover paint. So they presumably will still be adding the price of paint sold in their stores. However, with this amendment, we strike the transparency that requires them to report to MDE. So therefore, if this amendment strikes state oversight for how those price increases were set, I would urge a red vote on the senator's amendment.
All right, Chair recognizes the chair of the committee.
Mr. President, it's come to my attention that some people are saying maybe it ought to be on the manufacturers. Understand that the maker of the motion wants to take it off the retailers. I would suggest special ordering it till the first session tomorrow.
If there are no objections, any objections to the senator's motion? Without objection, so ordered. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 231, Delegate Polakovich-Carr, Crimes, Mitigation and Defense, Race, Color, National Origin, Sex, Gender Identity, or Sexual Orientation.
All right, House Bill 231 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 231, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill. Whoa. All good. All right. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 258, Delegate Guyton, State Child Welfare System Reporting.
All right, let's just, before we move on, just want to make sure. We recorded the vote on the last bill? Did you get the vote? Yes. We did, okay. All right, House Bill 231 is on third reader for, oh, I'm sorry. Okay, let's double check here. All good, don't want to make any mistakes. Okay, 258. All right, we are on House Bill 258 for third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 258, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 301, Delegate Shetty, Estates and Trusts, Maryland Revised Uniform Anatomical Act revisions.
House Bill 301 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 301, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 407, Delegate Stein, On-Site Sewage Disposal Systems Inspection Licensing.
All right, House Bill 401 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 37 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 407, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 885, Delegate R. Watson, Courts of Appeal and Special Appeals renaming. This is a constitutional amendment.
All right, House Bill 885 is on third reading for final passage. This is a constitutional amendment. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 40 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 885, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1000, Delegate Pippy, Estates and Trusts, Guardian of Property of Minor or Disabled Person, Prohibition on Distribution or Disbursement.
House Bill 1000 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1000, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1023, Delegate Homes, Real Property, Condominiums, Homeowner Associations, and Cooperative Housing Corporations, Virtual Meetings.
House Bill 1023 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1023, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1261, Delegate W. Fisher, Wills, Powers of Attorney, and Advance Directives, Electronic Execution.
House Bill 1261 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1261, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. All right, let's go to 26. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 9, Delegate Shetty, Family Law Mandatory Reporter Training.
All right, House Bill 9 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 9, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 39, Delegate Shetty, Action for Change of Name, Waiver of Publication Requirement.
All right, House Bill 39 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 35 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 39, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 114, Delegate Learman, Maryland Transit Administration Funding, Transit Safety and Investment Act.
House Bill 114 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 35 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 114, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 173, Delegate Feldmark, Community Colleges, State Funding Revision.
House Bill 173, third reader, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 173, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 248, Delegate Shetty, Condominiums and Homeowners Association, Rights and Restrictions, Composting.
House Bill 248 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 248, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 250, Delegate Frazier Hidalgo, Commercial Motor Vehicles Inspections.
House Bill 250 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 250, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 297, Delegate Pena-Milneck, Maryland Lynching Truth and Reconciliation Commission, Reporting and Sunset Extension.
House Bill 297 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 297, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 322, Delegate Hill, Real Property Restrictions on Use, Low Impact Landscaping.
House Bill 322 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 322, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 356, Delegate Shea, Corporations and Associations, Filing Fee Study.
House Bill 356 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 356, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 391, Delegate Hartman, Solid Waste Management, Prohibition on Releasing a Balloon into the Atmosphere.
House Bill 391 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 40 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 391, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 421, Delegate Rosenberg, Income Tax Distribution, Tax Clinics for Low-Income Marylanders.
House Bill 421 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 421, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 441, Delegate McKay, Department of Assessments and Taxation Identification Number for Business Task Force.
House Bill 441 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 441, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. On to 27. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 497, Delegate Boyce, Property Tax, Urban Agricultural Property, Repeal of Repayment Requirement.
House Bill 497 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 497, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 528, St. Mary's County Delegation, St. Mary's County Repeal of Impact Fee, Authorization of Building Excise Tax.
House Bill 528 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 528, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 530, St. Mary's County Delegation, St. Mary's County Gaming Administration of Bingo Licenses.
House Bill 530 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 530, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. I think that's the least discussed bingo bill in the history of the Senate of Maryland. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 571, Montgomery County Delegation, Montgomery County Disabled Active Duty Service Members, Disabled Veterans, and Surviving Spouses, Property Tax Abatement, Montgomery County 2021. This is an emergency bill.
House Bill 571 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 571, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 643, Delegate Polakovich Carr, Public Health, Cosmetic Products, Ingredient Prohibition.
House Bill 643 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 643, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 711, Delegate D. Jones, Income Tax Subtraction Modification, Donations to diaper banks and other charitable entities.
All right, House Bill 711 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 711, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 744, Delegate Dumais, Courts, Council Appearance Fees, Domestic Violence.
House Bill 744 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 744, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 768, Montgomery County Delegation, Montgomery County Community Choice Energy Pilot Program, Montgomery County 1721.
All right, House Bill 768 is on third reader for final passage. Chair recognizes the senator from District 33 on the bill.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. If I could ask the floor leader a few questions.
Will the floor leader yield? Appears so. Senator may proceed.
Yes, sir. Senator, this is a local bill.
It is.
And as a matter of local courtesy, I will be supporting it. But the reason I stopped right now is for the body to take a hard look at this, because this is a pilot, and it's my impression that it will be rolling out to other counties, municipalities in the future. Senator, is this the first time a unit in Maryland has tried this community choice energy program?
In this form, which is an opt-out concept, there are some municipalities, I think Tacoma Park has some variation of this, but this absolutely is, I would agree, the first of its kind in our state, although I will note 9 other states around the country allow their locals to do this, including some large cities, New York, San Francisco, LA. So this is not in any way, shape, or form unprecedented or new nationally, but it is breaking some new ground here in the state of Maryland, yes.
Is it your testimony New York City has this?
They're looking at it now. San Francisco, L.A., Albany, Rochester. But 9 states allow their locals to set up these aggregation groups. So
very good.
We would be the 10th to allow this and enable. And as for your prior point, I think your own county executive has indicated an interest in this. That will be up to you in Anne Arundel and the locals. This is a local bill. I should also add that this will require the local government, in this case Montgomery, to have public hearings. This doesn't make it happen. It still has to go back to the locals, and I know you used to serve at the county level. There'll be public hearings, and Montgomery County will actually have to pass a law to make this go forward. So there's still several years down the road before this will actually be in place in our state.
Yeah, thank you for that clarification. So this is enabling legislation. It doesn't make it automatically happen.
Absolutely correct. In fact, it's beyond enabling. Even when Montgomery County were to move forward, it will have to have their aggregation program or process or idea approved by the Public Service Commission, who each and every year will be vetting how things are monitoring, if there's any issues that are unexpected. So there's a lot of checks and balances, a lot of belts and suspenders built in. So yes, it's enabling, but even then, it's going to have to go through an approval process through the Public Service Commission.
Very good. Senator, thank you very much for those comments. Now, I'm going to make some general comments, Mr. President, about the bill as I understand it. And of course, I'd encourage the senator to come back and correct me because I'm not always the most accurate, but I try my very best. If, in fact, the local or county council approves this, they have the ability to roll in Montgomery County over 1 million people into the program, and then those folks will be able to opt out. And most of us know that once somebody automatically enrolls in a program, it's very hard to do that. The deciding body, which I presume the senator indicated is going to be Montgomery County County Council, will select a vendor. And the vendor could be somebody who provides 100% wind, 100% solar, 100% nuclear, or any combination of them. They can even pick Constellation, a kind of a mixed energy group. One of my main concerns is that it's a big grab. It's a big taking away individual people's rights. Now, the argument is they can always opt out. I just want to make sure that we all know how resistant people are to change, and once something in place, it's sometimes difficult for them to do that. And Mr. President, as this moves forward, in more communities in different parts of the state, I'm sure we'll have some more interesting discussions. But it's an idea that's coming. I'm a little resistant to it because of the all-encompassing opt-in. They're going to draw them in, and then the individual consumers have to opt out. I feel much more comfortable if it was a program that was offered to people in these jurisdictions where they can opt into it. But that's not our decision. This is just an enabling legislation. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. All right, Chair recognizes the Chair of Education, Health, and Environmental Affairs.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. And you're right, Senator, it is a local bill, but it has implications. And I actually come down on the other side of this. This has been debated on this floor for over 20 years. The former senator from the 23rd District was a longtime proponent of this. And the question is, should we give strength and power to numbers or allow the industry to negotiate with you individually? My question to you is, do you think you'll get a better rate on your energy negotiating with your provider? Or do you think if someone comes to the provider with 200 or 500 or 5,000 or 50,000 people, will they get a better rate for you? In some ways, it's analogous to collective bargaining, because this is exactly what this does. It allows for collective bargaining to get better energy prices. And if someone doesn't like being part of that collective, they can opt out. But right now, someone has to go around and get one person, another person in all your communities, in all your incorporated communities. This puts a more level playing field for the consumers. And I applaud Montgomery County for doing this. I hope it does become a broader conversation across the state. And I think we have to move to a place where we are defending consumers and put them in the best situation and best place where they can get a better price for energy than we do today. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Yes, Chair recognizes the
just one other point on the senator from Anne Arundel made a point about opt-in, opt-out. Just to be clear, there is nothing in this bill ultimately that would preclude anybody from dropping out of the aggregation group and going to a retail supplier or back to the standard offer service provider. And there is no termination fee in this bill. It specifically provides for that. But I think people forget that right now, if you do nothing, you are automatically put into your standard offer service provider, whether it's Pepco or BG&E. You don't have a choice. You didn't opt in. So we have already in this state a system where you by default are put into a standard offer service provider situation. What this does actually gives you more choice. You now have the aggregation group as a possibility, and if at any point you're unhappy, you can go to a retail supplier or you could go back to your standard offer service supplier. So right now you have two options. Under this regime, you have three. So I just want to make that clarifying point, Mr. President, and that's all I have to add.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes the senator from the 36th District.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. On the bill, just to clarify a few things, as my colleague just said, yes, this does provide a third choice. Okay, now you are automatically put into the aggregate group, and you can opt out of it if you'd like to, but it is a third choice. But to clarify something, this isn't necessarily in place to drive down electric costs. What we've heard is that there may be the government of Montgomery County, because again, this is a local bill, may decide that the energy mix or the type of energy is more important than price. And so they might ask for or look for an aggregate group that comes out and says, as my colleague says, we want 100% renewable energy. Now, that may come back in a competitive environment as a little bit higher cost. The government then, who's putting this together, may measure that against the environmental attributes and say, well, it's worth it. And it is a little bit more expensive for the citizens of Montgomery County to pay more in retrospect of getting back these environmental attributes. So I don't want it to be said that this solely is to drive down electric cost. It may result that way, and the county government may say that is the highest priority, but they also might say the diversification of the energy portfolio is more important, and if it's a little bit more expensive, we'll accept that. So with that, again, Mr. President, there certainly was a lot of debate about it. This is the second time we've seen this bill. It's a little bit different than it was last year, but I think many of us on the committee certainly agreed that this is a local bill. Although it's a pilot program, it's an awful large pilot program that's going to be in place for a long period of time if Montgomery County agrees to it. But I think all of us are a little bit eager to see how this works out. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. All right, on third reading for final passage, any further discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 768, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 781, Delegate Dumais, Corporations and Real Estate Investment Trust, miscellaneous.
House Bill 781 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 781, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 813, St. Mary's County Delegation, St. Mary's County Public Facilities Bond.
House Bill 813 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 813, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 852, Delegate Kaiser, Property Tax, Tax Sales, Homeowner Protection Program.
House Bill 852 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 852, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 861, Delegate Polakovich-Carr, Real Property, Landlord and Tenant, Reusable Tenant Screening Reports.
House Bill 861 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Everyone recorded their vote. Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 33 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 861, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Yes, is there a Chair recognizes Senator from the 37th District?
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I need to change my vote, two of them, from red to green, House Bill 114 and House Bill 421. Thank you.
Okay. Did we catch those? Senator, could the Senator say the bill numbers again?
I'm sorry, House Bill 114 and House Bill 421.
114, 421, red to green. Are there any
Correct.
objections to the Senator's motion? Without objection, so ordered. Chair recognizes the Senator from the 29th District.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 391 from red to green.
Red to green on 391. Any objections to the Senator's motion? Without objection, so ordered. All right, calendar 28. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 862, St. Mary's County Delegation, St. Mary's County and Metropolitan Commission Debt Limitations.
House Bill 901 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? Oh, I'm sorry, 862. 862 is on third reading. Right? Yep. 862. 862 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 862, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 901, Delegate Bartlett, Anne Arundel County, Hotel Tax Alterations, Distribution of Revenue.
House Bill 901 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 901, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 933, Delegate Bartlett, Anne Arundel County, Transfer Tax Housing Trust Special Revenue Fund.
House Bill 933 is on third reading for final passage. Chair recognizes the minority leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have an amendment, but I don't want to take the body's time, so I'd like to special order this till tomorrow so our delegation can take it up and save time.
We should have plenty of time. Any objections to the Senator's motion? Without objection, so ordered. All right, clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 937, Delegate McIntosh, State Lottery Fund, Maryland Humanities Council funding.
House Bill 937 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 937, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1010, Prince George's County Delegation, Prince George's County Payment in lieu of Taxes Agreement, Low Income Housing, Prince George's 41521.
House Bill 1010 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1010, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1060, Delegate Patterson, Charles County Board of Education Membership Alterations.
All right, House Bill 1060 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1060, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1173, Calvert County Delegation, Calvert County Public Facilities Bond.
House Bill 1173 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone should change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1173, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1178, Delegate Brooks, Income Tax Subtraction Modification, First-Time Home Buyer Savings Accounts.
House Bill 1178 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1178, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1182, Delegate Kipke, Property Tax Sales.
House Bill 1182 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1182, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1209, Delegate Lukey, Sales and Use Tax Peer-to-Peer Car Sharing Alterations.
House Bill 1209 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 38 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1209, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1279, Delegate Lukey, Regional Institutions Strategic Enterprise Zone Program Alterations.
House Bill 1279 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1279, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Chair recognizes the senator from the 45th District.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Oh, I'm sorry, 38th District, 38th.
38, thank you, sir. HB 1209 from yay to nay.
Yay to nay on, I'm sorry, Senator, the number again?
HB 1209.
1209 from yay to nay. Any objections to the senator's motion? Without objection, so ordered. All right. Any further? One moment. All right. Believe we have a conference committee report, potentially. Not a report, I'm sorry, messages. All right, we have a message to the Senate. The clerk will read in just a moment the first message.
House Bill 670, Speaker, Police Reform and Accountability Act of 2021 by the Majority Leader. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, the House of Delegates refuses to concur in the Senate amendments and respectfully requests the Senate recede from its position. Should the Senate prefer a conference committee to confer on the disagreeing votes of the two houses, the House appoints Delegate Clippinger Chair, Delegate Atterbury, Delegate Moon. In addition, the House has appointed in advisory capacity Delegate Kipke. Said bill is returned herewith by order Sylvia Sigurd. Chief Clerk.
Message having been read is ordered journalized. Clerk will read the second message.
By the Majority Leader, ladies and gentlemen of the House of Delegates, the Senate does not recede in the Senate amendment and agrees to a conference committee to confer on the disagreeing votes of the two houses. The House has appointed Delegate Clippinger Chairman, Delegate Atterbury, Delegate Moon. In addition, the House has appointed in advisory capacity Delegate Kipke. The Senate appoints Senator Smith chair, Senator Carter, Senator Jackson. In addition, the Senate has appointed in advisory capacity Senator Huff. Said bill is returned herewith by order of Nicole Alexander, Secretary.
Message having been read is adopted. All right. Let's go to report number 39. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 45, Delegate Forbes, Education, Baltimore County Public Library, Collective Bargaining, favorable with 2 amendments.
All right. House Bill 45, Finance.
Thank you.
Yes, Chair recognizes Senator from District 8 as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the Senate. House Bill 45 is similar to Senate Bill 138, which passed the Senate. House Bill 45 is a local bill that establishes collective bargaining rights for full or part-time non-management employees of the Baltimore County Public Library. The bill has the support of the Baltimore County Senate delegation. The 2 amendments conform House Bill 45 to Senate Bill 138. I move the amendments and the adoption of the favorable committee report. Thank you.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the favorable committee report as amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 45 is hereby ordered passed for 3rd reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 554, Delegate Pena-Melnick, Division of Consumer Protection, Assisted Living Programs, favorable with 2 amendments.
Mr. President.
Yes, Chair recognizes Chair of the committee as the floor leader.
House Bill 554 is similar to Senate Bill 507, which unanimously passed the Senate. The bill requires an assisted living program that was appointed as a representative payee for residents to report on the use by or for residents of Social Security benefits and any other government aid or funds to the Office of the Attorney General. Amendment 1 is technical. Amendment 2 requires OHCQ to notify the Office of the Attorney General when it becomes aware that an assisted living program has been appointed as a representative payee. There's no fiscal impact. I move the amendments and the adoption of the favorable committee report.
All right. Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the 2 amendments, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the 2 amendments say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now on the favorable committee report is amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 554 is hereby ordered passed for 3rd reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1004, Delegate Crosby, Financial Institution, Commissioner of Financial Regulation, Credit Union Power, favorable.
Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the chair of the committee as the floor leader.
House Bill 1004 modifies the process for and circumstances under which a Maryland chartered credit union may engage in any additional activity, service, or other practice that is already authorized for federal credit unions. The bill repeals an existing requirement that credit unions receive the approval of the Office of the Commissioner of Financial Regulation. Instead, the bill allows a credit union to undertake an action after filing a notice of intention to do so with OCFR, assuming OCFR does not reject or modify the proposal under the terms specified by the bill and 45 calendar days have elapsed. There's no amendment, no fiscal impact, no opposition at the committee hearing. I move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. On the report, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 1004 is hereby ordered passed for 3rd reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1154, Delegate Jackson, Labor and Employment Economic Stabilization Act, alterations, favorable.
I had to do a double take on that one. Chair recognizes the senator from Prince George's as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 1154 is identical to Senate Bill 801, which unanimously passed the Senate. The bill alters definitions, thresholds, and notification requirements for employers under the Economic Stabilization Act. The purpose of the act is to provide a quick response to provide employers and employees with services to assist in mitigating the effects on employees when there is a reduction in operations. There are no amendments. There is no fiscal impact. I move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. On the report, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 1154 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1213, Delegate Queen, Financial Institution, Determination of Creditworthiness, Evaluation Rules, and Alternative Methods, favorable.
Chair recognizes Chair of the Committee as the floor leader.
Mr. President, House Bill 1213 requires certain financial institutions to adhere to specified federal regulations when evaluating an application for a primary residential mortgage loan or an extension of credit, including consideration of the following verifiable alternative indications of creditworthiness. 1, history of rent or mortgage payment. 2, history of utility payments. 3, school attendance. And 4, work attendance. In addition, upon request by the applicant, any entity subject to the bill's requirements must consider other verifiable alternative indications of creditworthiness presented or made available to the entity by the applicant. There are no amendments, no fiscal impact, no opposition at the committee hearing. I move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the favorable committee report. On the report, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 1213 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1280, Delegate Pena-Milnick, Health, Behavioral Health, and Public Safety Center of Excellence Establishment, favorable.
Chair recognizes the Senator from Prince George's as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 1280 is similar to Senate Bill 857, which unanimously passed the Senate. The bill establishes the Maryland Community Health and Public Safety Center of Excellence within the Governor's Office of Crime Prevention, Youth, and Victim Services. The center's activities include strategic planning, technical assistance, and state and local government coordination for carrying out its purposes. The main purpose of the center is to divert mentally ill people away from the criminal justice system and into crisis services, primarily through the use of a sequential intercept model. There are no amendments. I move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. On the report, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 1280 is hereby ordered passed to third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1342, Chair Ways and Means Committee, Economic Development, Partnership for Workforce Quality Program, Alterations, favorable.
Chair recognizes the Vice Chair of the Committee as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 1342 expands the eligible use of funds under the Partnership for Workforce Equality Program to include training for new employees. There were no amendments, no fiscal impact. There was no opposition to the committee hearing. Move adoption of the favorable committee report, Mr. President.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. On the report, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 1342 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. I think we have another finance. We do. Calendar 41. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 28, Delegate Pena-Milnick, Public Health, Implicit Bias Training in the Office of Minority Health and Health Disparities.
Chair recognizes
favorable.
Chair of the committee is the floor leader.
Thank you. House Bill 28 is identical to Senate Bill 5 as it passed the Senate earlier this session. The bill requires applicants for the renewal of a license or certificate issued by a health occupations board to attest to completion of an improved implicit bias training program the first time they renew their license or certificate after April 2022. Beginning in fiscal 2023, the governor must include in the annual budget bill an appropriation for the Office of Minority Health and Health Disparities that is the greater of either $1,788,314 or 0.012% of the total funds appropriated to the Maryland Department of Health in that fiscal year. OMHHD must publish on its website health data that includes race and ethnicity information collected by the office. There are no amendments, no opposition at the committee hearing. I move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. On the report, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 28 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 419, Delegate Chi, Economic Development, Advanced Clean Energy, and Clean Energy Innovation Investment Initiatives, favorable with one amendment.
Chair recognizes the Vice Chair of the committee as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. As amended, House Bill 419 is identical to Senate Bill 460, which we passed on third reader just earlier today. The bill requires the Maryland Energy Innovation Institute and the Maryland Clean Energy Center to implement an accelerator program for Maryland-based technology companies engaged in clean energy innovation. The program must feature seed funding, training, and developmental support for the companies. The Institute and the Clean Energy Center must also coordinate and consult certain state entities as specified. The Clean Energy Center is designated as a state green bank, and its financing authority is clarified as it relates to state entities. The bill provides ongoing funding for the Institute and the Clean Energy Center from the Strategic Energy Investment Fund. Amendment number 1 expands the definition of advanced clean energy to include renewable chemical production. With that said, Mr. President, I'd move the amendment and the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the one committee amendment and the favorable committee report. On the amendment, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The one committee amendment is adopted. Question now is on the favorable committee report as amended. Any discussion? If not, on the report, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 419 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 457, Delegate Dumais, Insurance, Application of Premium Tax, Continued Exclusion of Maryland Automobile Insurance Fund, favorable.
Chair recognizes Chair of the committee as the floor leader.
Thank you. House Bill 457 is similar to Senate Bill 149, which passed the Senate earlier this session. The bill makes permanent an exemption from the 2% insurance premium tax for the Maryland Automobile Insurance Fund. The House bill has a non-substantive technical difference from the Senate cross-file. I move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. On the report, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 457 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 565, Delegate Charkoudian, Health Facilities, Hospitals, Medical Debt Protection, favorable.
Chair recognizes Vice Chair as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 565 is identical to Senate Bill 514, which passed the Senate unanimously earlier in the session. Bill adds additional requirements relating to hospital debt collection policies and payment plans, and it prohibits a hospital from taking specified actions when collecting debt. There are changes to financial assistance policy provisions because of the pandemic, and interest payments and payment plan provisions are established. Also, there are detailed provisions regarding when and how a hospital can make reports to consumer reporting agencies, initiate court actions, and use debt collectors regarding collecting unpaid patient debt. Mr. President, there were no amendments, no opposition. Move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. And Senator, this is the same form as the Senate bill as we amended it?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes, an important, as I said the last time on the Senate bill, very important piece of legislation.
Very much so. Very much so. Thank you, Senator. We're going to get this through. Good stuff. All right. On the report, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 565 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 601, Delegate Kipke, Pharmacy Benefits Manager, revisions, favorable.
Chair recognizes Senator from District 7 as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, a little background on this bill. It deals with PBMs, Pharmacy Benefit Managers, and how they interact with ERISAs. Little background, in 1974, Congress passed the Federal Employment Retirement Income Security Act. And it's long believed that these preempted state law. In 2017, the state of Arkansas passed a law dealing with ERISAs and PBMs and how they would reimburse pharmacies, making sure that the wholesale price was at or higher than what they would normally get. The PBMs challenged that in court. It worked all the way up to Supreme Court, where it was unanimously decided by the Supreme Court that ERISA did not preempt the state law regulating PBMs and ERISA plans. The case was called, or known as, Rutledge. And so what this bill does is it fixes everything in our state as a result of the Rutledge case. And quick background on those is the bill alters a number of provisions so that they continue to apply more narrowly to carriers or PBMs that perform pharmacy benefit management services on behalf of a carrier, such as provisions relating to beneficiary choice of pharmacy and audits of pharmacies and pharmacists by PBMs, and other provisions apply more broadly to purchasers, which include self-funded ERISA plans and PBMs that provide services on behalf of purchasers, such as provisions relating to maximum allowable cost pricing and disputes regarding cost pricing and reimbursement. There were no amendments, no fiscal impact. I move favorable on the committee report.
Thank you for that background, Senator. The senators move for the adoption of the favorable committee report. On the report, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 601 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 606, Delegate D.E. Davis, Electricity and Gas, Limited Income Mechanisms and Assistance, favorable with two amendments. This is an emergency bill.
Chair recognizes Senator from Prince George's as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. As amended, House Bill 606 is identical to Senate Bill 392, which passed the Senate earlier this session. The bill requires a gas or an electric utility company to adopt a limited income mechanism to benefit an eligible limited income customer, subject to the approval of the Public Service Commission and other specified requirements. The PSC must evaluate a mechanism based on criteria in the bill. A municipal electric utility may, but is not required to, propose a limited income mechanism to assist its eligible customers. The bill also expands the support level for participation in the Electric Universal Service Program and the Maryland Energy Assistance Program, administered by OHEP, authorizing assistance to customers at least 67 years of age who are at or below 200% of the federal poverty level. The bill makes additional similar changes to EUSP. Finally, the bill establishes a short-term work group on low-income utility assistance. Amendment 1 is technical. Amendment 2 repeals a certain mandate transfer of funds, recognizing that the governor has included funding in a supplemental budget, but specifies that OHEP must receive a certain appropriation in fiscal 2023, effectively requiring funds to remain available until fully expended. I move the amendments and the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the two committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The two committee amendments are adopted. Question now on the favorable committee report is amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 606 is hereby ordered passed to third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 718, Delegate Guidance, State Coordinator for Autism Strategy and Advisory Stakeholder Group on Autism-Related Needs, Location and Funding, favorable.
Chair recognizes Senator from District 8 as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I was hoping this would have come up last week only because our senator from Montgomery County announced that it was Autism Awareness Day. So we're a little bit late, but
apology,
it is very,
Senator. That's I take full
no
blame
apology,
on that.
but it is a very, very important topic. So, but House Bill 718 moves the state coordinator for autism strategy from the Department of Disabilities to the Governor's Office of the Community Initiatives, since that is where the governor has included funds in the state budget for fiscal 2022. In addition, going forward, the governor must include in the budget an appropriation to fund the position of state coordinator for the autism strategy and the advisory stakeholder group on autism-related needs. There are no amendments, and I move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the favorable committee report. On the report, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments for the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 718 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 872, Delegate Charles. Sheila E. Hickson, Behavioral Health Services, Matching Grant Program for Service Members and Veterans Establishment, favorable.
Yes, Chair recognizes Senator from the 32nd District as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 872 is identical to Senate Bill 550, which passed the Senate unanimously earlier this session. The bill establishes the Sheila E. Hickson Behavioral Health Services Matching Grant Program for service members and veterans administered by the Department of Health. The program is intended to help serve the behavioral health needs of service members, veterans, and specified family members. The program must award competitive matching grants to local nonprofit organizations to establish and expand community behavioral health programs that serve the behavioral health needs of eligible individuals, meet national standards, and integrate the delivery of mental health and substance use treatment, and connect eligible individuals to appropriate community-based care in a timely manner. There are no amendments. I move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. On the report, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 872 is ordered passed to third reading. Hard to believe, but we are on the last calendar of the day. Last of the day. Special order calendar number 45. Clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 319, Delegate Polakovich Carr, Local Tax Relief for Working Families Act of 2021. Questions on the adoption of the committee amendments and the favorable report.
On the committee amendments, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The two committee amendments are adopted. Question now on the favorable committee report as amended. Any discussion? Yes, Chair recognizes Minority Leader.
Yeah, talk on the bill.
On the report, Senator may proceed.
So I was looking at this bill, and it authorizes local jurisdictions to change their fixed income tax rate, specifically to allow bracketed tax rates. It also alters the disparity grant for counties. But I find it interesting, as it originally came in, it says it's tax relief for working families. Raises taxes on the highest wage earners so they pay their fair share, and nothing about helping government coffers. That's how it came in. As amended, it hurts working families. The rich are amended out of the bill. Governments are ensured that they'll get their taxes. And the only tax relief left is in the title of the bill. And we've heard the old saying, if you have friends like this, who needs enemies? And I think people would say, please don't help us anymore if this is the type of help you're going to give us. So if I could just ask the floor leader a couple questions.
The floor leader yield for questions.
Yes,
Senator may
sir.
proceed.
So I was a little confused last time we talked about this, seems a long time ago, with the Senate bill. Can you just reflect to the body and share with them, why did we raise the lowest minimum tax over double? It went up 125% if we're trying to help working families. Why was that raised?
Well, this bill does not raise anybody's taxes. It is all enabling to the local governments, point number one. Point number two, the statewide minimum rate that's used for taxing out-of-state residents on their in-state income is what you're referring to, and it does not raise anybody's taxes because it's set at the lowest current rate in the state.
Okay, I'm just looking at the bill.
Yep.
I realize this is enabling that they can raise taxes, and it's not officially you're going to let the counties raise the taxes. But if I'm looking at the bill, current law says the minimum rate that a county can charge is 1%.
That's correct.
And in this bill, it was amended so that the minimum they can raise is 2.25. So we're telling counties you cannot go down to 1% anymore. You have to raise it at a minimum of 2.5. So I'm just wondering why, in a progressive tax, when the lowest tax bracket is helping the lowest wage earners, the working families, why we would more than double what the minimum that the county could set it to, especially when it's a progressive tax has to go down low for the low range and higher for the higher. So why would you raise the lowest minimum tax at a county?
It doesn't raise any tax. Let's start there. This is enabling for the local governments, and the minimum that is set in the bill is the current lowest rate in the state.
Okay, So 2 points there. One is you're correct. It's 2.5 is the current. But this is enabling the counties to change the tax structure.
I agree.
Right now we have a flat tax. It's the same for everybody. So that's 2.25, the lowest. In a progressive tax bracket, you would raise on the high earners and lower it on the lower wages. So why would we put it up to what it currently is? I mean, the basis of a progressive tax is that you allow it to go lower. So why would we want to do that? It just seems counterintuitive to a tax bracket system.
The bill allows counties, depending on their situation and their own judgment, to make their income tax progressive, which it is not today.
Okay. I'll just let that one go. Why did the committee, when it's putting in a tax bracket system, why would they put a higher minimum tax on the county when you look at the state's progressive tax bracket? That's lower than what we're imposing on the county. So why would we make it higher for the counties?
This does not require the minimum rate to be higher. It is set at the lowest rate that any county has.
Okay, help me understand that. The current state minimum is 2%. In this bill, it says the counties may not go below 2.25. How is that not raising it higher than the state?
It's not raising any tax in the state at all.
I didn't say.
It's the minimum rate in the state.
Okay, and I'll just try one more time. I'm not talking about raising the tax. I'm talking about raising the tax rate. The tax rate at the state level, the lowest is 2%. In this bill, we require the counties to go at a minimum of 2.25, which is higher than the state's minimum. Why would we want to go higher than what the state is doing as far as a tax rate goes?
The lowest county rate right now is 2.5, and that's what's set in the bill.
Okay. All right. The other thing is, I noticed there was testimony. I didn't see revised testimony. And I saw Montgomery County, and they came in, and I quote, they say, for counties whose rate is below the current maximum of 3.2, various options exist to create a more progressive system, including one that could be revenue neutral. However, for counties whose local tax rates are already at the maximum, creating a more progressive system will result in a loss of revenue unless the current rate of 3.2 is increased. House Bill 319 addresses that problem by establishing a maximum rate of 3.5, which may be applied to higher companies. You took out, or not you, but the committee took out the 3.5% and put it back to 3.2. Is that correct?
Did.
So they said that's a problem when they came and testified. So half the counties already are at the maximum at 3.2, correct?
Yeah.
So under this current system, or this bill, the only way half of the county jurisdictions could provide any tax relief is if they were willing to lose revenue. They would have to actually lose revenue and reduce the rate. And given testimony like that, they say that's a problem, and we applaud the 3.5%. Did any of those counties come back in and say we support moving it back to 3.2?
Not to my recollection. But they may have. I literally have no recollection of that specific issue, if anybody came back on that.
Okay. And then if you could just briefly share what the new language in there for the disparity grants, how that plays together and why that was put in the bill.
It was put in there at the request of MACO, because the way the disparity grant works, it's a very complicated formula that's developed over the years, and it is related to the income tax rates in the counties. And so MACO came in, worked with us to come up with a formula that would protect the disparity grants in the context if and when local counties use the other provisions of the bill.
Okay, and I imagine most people aren't familiar. Can you just describe why we have a disparity grant and how it works? What is the mechanism that counties would want to implement a disparity grant?
Yeah, I mean, the essence of the disparity grant is to help counties that have low wealth, that don't have as much ability to raise money locally, to support their public services, their schools, et cetera. It's an equalization. We have lots of equalization formulas. It's an equalization formula, essentially.
Okay, so the disparity grants help local governments, and I'm assuming they get grants from the state if they do that. And how do they actually qualify, not the wealth portion, but just the tax rates? How do they qualify for that? What must they do?
It's an analysis, and I may get a little over my skis here, but my understanding of it, it's an analysis done by the state about whether they're making sufficient tax effort, which relates to their use of the local income tax, and it relates it to their wealth, and that's how the formula rolls.
Okay, if I can just speak on the bill.
On the report, yes, Senator may proceed.
So I appreciated the floor leader's explanation. Just for the disparity grants, what you have here is representatives from the government come in and say, we want this language in this bill. And let me just cut to the chase why they want that. Because they get money from the state, and they want that money to continue to come. Well, who does not benefit from this being in the language of the bill? It's the working families. It's the low income. And the way these disparity grants work, state government incentivizes local governments to raise their taxes, their minimum tax, and get more revenues from our lowest income, our working family, so they get money for their government. And just to give you an idea, what the floor leader was saying is they raised the minimum that a county can charge from 1% all the way up to 2.25. But then they amended it even worse than that. So with the disparity grant, which many of the counties are getting, they say if you raise it not 2.5, but if you raise it up to a minimum of 2.8, we'll give you 20% of your grant money. And let me give you a little more incentive, government, because this is what MACO wanted. If you raise it to 2.9%, and for those making over $100,000, you raise it to 3% minimum, we'll give you 40% of your grant money. Now, dual workers in a family, $100,000, they don't consider rich. And anybody at 2.9. Then they go further. They say, we will give you, if you raise your minimum rate, not 2.25, but the 3.1 or 3.2 over 100,000, we'll give you 75% of the grant money. So this amendment is incentivizing our local governments to raise the taxes even higher on our lowest wage earners. This bill came in saying, we want to help working families. But when you look at the details, they strike the provision with the rich. They were going to raise it to 3.5 so they could get more money at the top. And then they could pass that on potentially to the lower income. This bill struck the rich. Rich, you're okay. We're going to leave it the way current law is. What about the low wage? Well, we don't want to strike that. We're going to more than double what the minimum rate is for the low income. Now, where does that make sense? I thought we were supposed to be doing paying your fair share. So we amend out the rich and the big earners, so they're current law. But we whack it to the working families. We raise it 125%. And then on top of that, to make it worse, we put in language to incentivize our local governments not to just 2.25. We want them to go 2.8, or we'll give you a little more, 2.9, or we'll even give you the most if you go up to 3.1%. How in the world is that helping our working families? I'll give you the original bill. I could understand that one. But the way this is amended, it protects the rich and hurts the working class. And the explanation, that's what government wanted. MACO wanted that. And you get into more details, and this, don't want to get too much, but there's the thing called SNRT, which is the out-of-state workers that come in. They get charged a local tax, but the state gets that money. And the state wants to protect their money, and they only get the lowest percent of whatever the counties have at the lowest rate. So in this bill, they're saying we got to protect our state interest, and we got to keep that lowest rate and move it up Because if you know what, in a progressive tax, if you moved it down to 1%, the state would only get 1% for those out-of-state residents. So who is this protecting? It protects the state so they get their tax money. It protects the local government because MACO wanted to come in to make sure they got their incentive. It protects the rich because they were amended out of this. Who is left holding the bag? The working family. So while this has a great title, when you dig into this, this is going to be crushing for working families. I don't know how we're... Actually, I've got an amendment that's actually going to put a fair title on this, and I'd like to offer that at this point.
Senator, we still have to adopt this payroll report. And just a quick reminder,
Thank you.
To refrain from talking about other groups influencing our legislation. At the end of the day, this is the product of the Budget and Taxation Committee. So however it got there, the Budget and Taxation Committee determined it was the best way. All right, let's do the report. Any further discussion on the report itself? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Chair recognizes the Senator from Anne Arundel with the floor with an amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. The amendment number is HB 0319 223726/1.
All right, just one moment, Senator. All right, Senator may explain the amendment.
Again, this is not a gotcha amendment. This actually tries to fairly reflect what the bill is doing. As I just discussed, this is not tax relief on working families. This is actually protecting the rich so they don't have to do any extra. And then it's protecting government so they get their money. It's raising the minimum tax rate that they could use for working families. And then it incentivizes government to raise those taxes even higher so working families get hurt worse. So the current title says Local Tax Relief for Working Families Act of 2021. This is a simple amendment. It just simply changes it to Local Tax Bracket Act of 2021. I think that's a fair reflection. Counties can do what they want. Some counties can increase taxes with this. It's just a tool, and they can do what they want. I'm concerned about the raising of the minimum, but I think it reflects on what they're doing, and I would ask for accept this. Thank you.
All right, Senator moves the amendment. Chair recognizes the floor leader.
Yes, I appreciate the minority leader's extensive research on this issue. I'm afraid I have to disagree with his interpretations almost entirely. Remember, this bill doesn't raise anybody's taxes. All it does is allow our local governments to lower working people's taxes, and in the case of counties that are not at the 3.2 maximum, to in fact raise taxes on the wealthy. So in fact, the bill actually allows the counties to do, not all counties, because counties, if they're at the 3.2, all they can do is lower taxes for working people. But either way, the beneficiaries are working people. For that reason, I oppose the amendment. It's a good description of what the bill does. The gentleman disagrees with that interpretation. I respect that, but I urge a red vote on the amendment.
All right, on the amendment, any further discussion on the amendment? On the amendment, are there any senators who wish to speak who have not yet spoken? Chair recognizes the maker of the amendment.
Thank you. I think it's a fair reflection. We shouldn't be raising the minimum tax rates just because government wants it. If we want real tax reform for working families, what a progressive tax does is it lowers the tax rate on the lower income and it raises it on the higher income. In this bill, it specifically prohibits counties to go below 2.5. Current law allows them to go to 1%. By law, they will not be able to do that anymore, and that's hurting working families. I'm going to let this vote, take this vote, and then I'll save my powder for a third reader on the other amendments. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator. All right, on the amendment, any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The noes have it. The Senator's amendment fails. All right. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? If not, House Bill 319 is hereby ordered passed to third reading. All right. Look, we got through a lot today, a lot more than expected. Chair recognizes the senator from the 36th district. Okay, later. Let's do committee reports or messages, announcements. We'll come back. Chair recognizes the chair of Education, Health, and Environmental Affairs.
Mr. President, Education, Health, and Environmental Affairs will meet at 2:45 for bill hearings, followed by voting.
All right. Chair recognizes the chair of Budget and Taxation.
Thank you, Mr. President. Our sports betting work group will meet at 2:15, and then at 3:15 we'll have a voting session.
Excellent. All right. 2:15 work group, 3:15 vote. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chair recognizes the chair of Judicial Proceedings.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Judicial Proceedings Committee will meet again for voting session at 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock for JPR. 3 o'clock for JPR. All right. Any other announcements?
Mr. President.
Yes. Oh, sorry. Chair of Finance. Apologies.
Yeah. Finance will meet at 2:50 for voting and for one bill hearing.
All right. 250, 250. Is that 215 or 250? Just 250, 250. Okay, 250 it is. All right. Let's see. Chair of Rules Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. Please be advised that the Senate Rules Committee is going to be meeting tomorrow, which is Wednesday, April the 7th at 10 a.m.
10 a.m. 10 a.m. Rules Committee. Thank
10
you.
a.m. tomorrow.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Chair recognizes the senator from District Chair of Exec Noms, Frederick County. Frederick City.
Thank you, Mr. President. Nothing to do with executive noms.
Oh.
I just wanted to announce that we think things don't happen in their community, but we had a shooting in Frederick today. 2 people were seriously injured and have been flown to shock trauma, and the shooter returned to Fort Detrick. He was Navy, and as they put it, was neutralized. He was killed there, and some federal agencies are investigating, but just ask everybody to say a prayer for the 2 at shock trauma. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes the senator from Frederick County.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And I would just ask that the Senate today adjourn in honor of Brunswick City Police Chief Milt Fretch. His funeral is happening right now. Unfortunately, he passed away yesterday. He had spent 34 years in policing. He had been Brunswick City Police Chief since 2009. And when we talk about community policing and the best, he was really emblematic of that. Somebody that could enforce the law, keep a community safe, but also was almost universally loved by the citizens of Brunswick. And so I would just ask that we adjourn in his honor today. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator, for bringing his passing to our attention. And without objection, we certainly will adjourn in the gentleman's honor. And does the majority leader have the sheriff's name? All right. Chair recognizes the senator from District 30.
Thank you, Mr. President. To the Anne Arundel County delegation, we will find a time to quickly meet in the next less than 24 hours. So please look at your emails. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. All right. Any further announcements? If not, just a quick reflection. The senator from District 34 explained his vote, and I think there was so much going on that I didn't quite hear it, but I think it was a very accurate comment, and I think it's something that's very, very different between this chamber and the other chamber, and no disparaging or any way. It's just a difference that, one of the things that we do here is try to improve bills, and there are going to be times where we have fierce policy differences on pieces of bills, they get adjusted or they don't, but we can still try and move the issue overall. And so I think that is the difference, is that this is the floor where we really try to examine the issues and get it right. And even when we disagree, that's going to happen. But it is a big difference between this bicameral legislature, and I think it's something that is worth noting. So appreciate that reflection from earlier in the day. All right, are there any further announcements before we do a quorum call? Oh, do we have to do pages? Do we have pages this week? Oh, that's right. They didn't. Yeah, right. We couldn't do this week. All right. In that case, let's do a quorum call before we adjourn.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their presence? If so, the clerk will take the call. With 47 members in the chamber and a quorum being present, the Senate of Maryland remains in session. Chair recognizes the Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate of Maryland stand adjourned until Wednesday, April 7th at 10:30 a.m. in memory of Brunswick Police Chief Milt Fretch.
Without objection, so ordered. Stay safe, wear your mask, get those vaccines available to everyone over the age of 16.